I train and use gun dogs for upland bird hunting, and it's been a pastime of mine since I was old enough to have dogs. And part of having dogs is making it very easy for you to take care of them. And I've had a number of different types of kennels, and I finally was able to design a kennel that we're going to try to show you today, and show you some of the features that I thought about that were easy for me in taking care of the dogs. The way I ended up going is having a concrete slab poured. I have heavier duty chain link fencing that separates the different kennels that the dogs reside in. In my setup, I have 8 different kennels. And you'll see that it has a central hall that makes it easier to get a dog out of a kennel and bring it out into the hall where you can put it on a lead and carry it out or load it in the dog box in the truck. But I think that central hall in the design of the pens themselves is important. Now, cleaning out the kennels are very important, at least for me. And we'll illustrate this, but what I like to do on the excrement, the feces, I use a flat panel, just a flat shovel to scoop that out, and I remove it from the kennel. Then after I get that excrement out, I'll wash off with a hose the urine when they go to the bathroom in the pen. Now, the side of the kennel, the concrete, I had the concrete guys put in a trough that collects that wash water. And it's important that you slope the concrete slab where the water will run more or less downhill into the troughs. And then the troughs are also sloped, so you have some fall to the trough that takes the wash water out into a pipe that then I have a PVC pipe that goes out into behind the kennel in the woods. Also, you'll see that the dogs tend to like to lie in barrels, so the housing for the dogs are plastic barrels that I have elevated off the concrete floor. And dogs like to be high anyway. They jump into the barrels, and that's their houses, and I have, you can put bedding in those barrels, blankets or whatever you like for them to lie on. But also washing out under the barrel is important. So all the kennel floor, the concrete, I'm able to wash it completely out. So you don't have anything sitting on the concrete that's going to catch water and end up being a problem in terms of cleaning. Oftentimes, particularly in the hunting season, being the fall and winter, you've got shorter days, and even in the summertime, I'm up here at night some. You've got to have, in my opinion, it's nice to have electricity to your kennel for various things. One of the more important pieces for that will be for lighting. So I've got fluorescent lights in here where I can cut that on and be able to feed dogs and see dogs and all of that, which makes it convenient. Also, I have some outside lighting. If I'm unloading, coming in from a hunting trip, I'm able to unload gear, guns, dogs, and so that makes it convenient. When I plumb the kennel, I've got water coming obviously into the kennel. I went ahead and brought PVC pipe up into 3/4 inch line that's coming into the side of the kennel that each kennel that you'll see, or each pen. And I've got self-waterers, and there's a trigger that the dog will lick. And so the water comes out at a nominal rate, and the dogs always have fresh water that's available for them. My advice to you, if you come aerial with a line for watering dogs, they make a pipe now that's able to expand more when it freezes and not break. This is standard PVC, and it'll break under pressure if it freezes. So that's something to consider, is how to drain the lines and then have expandable pipe that if it does freeze, you're not going to lose you're not going to break your pipes. I have a way to cut the kennel off at a cutoff valve, so I can turn the water off if I'm working on a line, clean it out or whatever. And for freezing purposes, back to that, I have spigots at the bottom of my waters that I'm able to drain each line separately once I cut the whole kennel off. So that eliminates the freezing problem, but still my advice is if you go waterers and have aerial lines, have it where I would go with this expandable pipe that will not freeze. There's one large ceiling fan above the kennel here, and I will run it on really particularly hot days. You have a tendency here in Mississippi, obviously July and August gets pretty smoking hot, and the dogs are able to tolerate that heat pretty well. But for their comfort, I do have a fan that at least moves some air on some of these really hot still days. And also too, not that the wash water, of course it's clean water that I use from the plumb line to wash out the pens, but the fan being on sometime will help evaporate that water off the kennel floor. So that's no problem with that, but it just eliminates any puddling of water, the fan and the air movement. So I think that's a good idea as well. Another thing that you should think about, you gotta have some storage capacity off your kennel. So there is a metal building that's attached to the kennel that I store food in, and all those supplies are in. So I would recommend you have that. It would be inconvenient for me to have to walk to a shed to get food and then come back and feed the dogs in my storage shed. I've got the food there, so I can literally just walk in and get food, come back out, feed them, or if I'm giving them vaccinations, flea repellent, flea tick collars, whatever I'm putting on them, it's right there, convenient. So it just makes it convenient, kind of a self-sustaining unit to have a shed where you have your supplies and materials stored. This kennel, the whole thing that you'll see, it's about 30 feet wide, and it's about 60 feet long, including the shop. And that's pretty big. And I built this kennel probably about 8 years ago. And just to give you a notion of the money, I didn't do it myself because I don't have the talent to pour concrete and hang metal tops. But I spent about close to $30,000 on this kennel. So it's, for me, that's a lot of money. I thought I could do it when I got into it for about half that, but just things I started adding to it and improving it, and I ended up spending about $30,000, which sounds like a lot, but the time you start training and buying dogs and food, it just makes it more convenient. And I enjoy the dogs better, and they're healthier as a result of it. So something to think about. It's going to cost you a little money, but think about your budget when you build a kennel. Washing out the pens are very important. I have a spigot here in the central hall here. I've also got some on the outside that I use. This one is especially convenient. It just has a gate valve in here that's on the end of a copper line, and it's got a spigot where I can, on the end of it threaded, where I can put a hose. And just a short hose is all I use, just enough to reach these pens here. Turn that hose on, and I'm able to wash these pens out in a snap. And then when I'm done, take the hose off, coil it back up, hang it on the fence, and then put my top back on, bam, you're done. The dog that's in this pen is named Liv, and she's quite athletic. She likes to stand on her barrel. I put a cattle panel on top of her pen because she's doesn't try to get out per se, but she stands on a barrel and would be able easily to jump out. This panel will prevent her. She can get her head through it, but she can't get through it. So that's just a retardant for a dog that's trying to get out. Now, if you have a climbing dog, which I have English pointers, some are bad about climbing, you would have to put some type of top on all these pens. Fortunately for me, I get my dogs out a lot. I exercise them a lot. It gets some of their nervous energy out. They're very athletic, so when I work them a lot, they like to come back to their pen to relax. I give them treats when they come back in their pen. That way, when they get in their pen, they want to be there and not necessarily wanting to try to get out. So that's one of the things I do to kind of relieve the anxiousness in the dog for being in their pen. They like their pen, but if I had a dog that tried to climb out, I'd have to use some type of overhead canopy on all these pens to be able to keep the animal in. On the pen gates, and with this female dog, she's Houdini, so to speak. She just popped that latch up right there. I don't know if Melissa was able to catch that, but you may have heard it. She's real good. She knows how these gates open. So this is, people think of this, but I just wanted to point out, it's nice to put a latch on these gates, whatever design you have, that'll allow. See, she's moving it right there. If that latch wasn't there, she would be able to flip that latch up, and school would be out. She would be out, and I'd have to call her back. She just tried to open it again. Does anybody want this dog? But a latch is nice to keep on all. I keep them on all my gates just to make sure that the dogs can't get out, and it's kind of added security for me as an owner to know that they're all latched. This is a closer up of the trough here, and one of the things I wanted to illustrate here, I mentioned you have fall in your trough, so your wash water will go to a larger PVC pipe that's going to take it off in the woods here. And this is part of the end of the trough where the larger PVC pipe is actually mounted to the bottom of the trough. But this pipe will come across here and then elbow out, and you can see here that this is a clean out valve. This is good. If I get a stoppage of the pipe, I can take this off and get in there and clean it out. But the pipe then runs parallel to the shop out to the back of the kennel. And this is the PVC line that connects to to those troughs, the end of the troughs. And it just basically, you can see here, runs it out in the woods here. Mostly wash water, and I wash my kennels out every day. And that keeps it healthier for the dogs, and there's obviously less smell and odor if you wash them out frequently. And you might remember, I don't personally wash the feces into the pipe. I dispose of it in the woods, and most of the line here, the wash water, is some feces but a lot of urine. But washing out every day, you don't get a lot of smell. You don't smell this kennel much, and I think that's pleasant for me and the dogs. But this is a picture of the line that I've got run out, taking the wash water away from the kennel. So this is a good option you have in plumbing your kennel. So bottom line, what I would recommend is that you think through, plan out, and be involved in the construction process of your kennel so that you have a well-designed, well-thought-out kennel that will mean happier and healthier dogs. And not only will your dogs be happier and healthier, but you'll enjoy those animals more to be able to care for them and work them in the field.